Hi there, I'm Heinalka Collado from Earthster, and today you're watching one of our monthly webinars. And the topic is LCAs at scale, best practices, and how you can get the best out of Earthster for modeling your LCAs. And today I have a bit different session. One of the rare cases I made slides, so I'm gonna show in a moment the slides. And if you're the first time joining this session, this is a live session, so you will be able to watch the recording in LinkedIn Live and also later on YouTube. It will be uploaded to our YouTube channel. And since this is a live session, I always like if you have questions at the moment, so we can go through in case you have some concerns or any things that you would like to discuss in the live session. And if we can't take your question, then we'll answer it afterwards. I hope you'll enjoy this session and you're going to be more productive after this webinar of how to do LCAs at scale with Earthster. Let me share my screen. So if you've been joining before, you know that lately I've been demoing a lot our most amazing features to be able to do LCAs at scale. And what do we mean by that? It basically means that with minimal effort, you can create thousands of product LCAs from your existing bill of materials. Of course, you have to have the data first in a way that you can convert that or translate that into LCA information. But once you have that, it's like this. And most of our efforts, like improving Earthster's usability, has been lately aimed towards that, so that to make it even faster and easier to do LCAs. And the goal is that once you use the scaling tools, you no longer need to tell to your team that it would be nice to have the LCA results of that specific product, but it's gonna with this plan it takes in 5 years. So what we want to enable you to be able to answer your customers' questions related to what is your product's environmental impact, and of course internally for being able to do eco design. Let's get started. So slideshow, we are starting with a slideshow. Let me make this even a bit bigger so you don't see the edge. Okay, so best practices. Some of you have already heard about the scaling features, what I'm referring to, and I would highlight 3 different features that we have. And we have many other little things that you can use in doing more LCAs in a more, I would say, more enjoyable way. But these are the main ones that you should know about. And you might want to even consider upgrading your existing subscription to have access to them. And the first one I want to mention is the generator. With the generator, you take your bill of materials almost as they are and upload the information into Earthster. Through that, you basically translate the language of your ERP system or wherever you store your data into LCA language. Then the next one is the replicator. It's similar to the generator, except instead of generating a new cycle with specific inputs, the generator lets you create variations of a product. So for example, you want to model an O-ring and you have 100 different sizes and thicknesses. You create one model that can represent all the different variations and you replicate them. And with one file, you can create thousands of LCA models. Once again, minimal effort. And the copy paste is one of my favorite ones. And even with that, you're able to do LCAs at scales, but it's meant for different purposes. And that's why I wanted to have today a slideshow to point out what is good for what kind of actions. And for example, the copy paste is more meant for reusing your own parts of your cycles or your own LCA models in other places. Like this, exactly. So now these are the slides. I will get into deeper once we are in Earthster so that you see how Earthster looks like. Let me zoom in a bit, otherwise you don't see it well enough. This should be fine. Okay, what you see here is a bunch of models that I have created already using these tools, and this workspace is even called test. So of course I'm testing a lot and training people how to use Earthster. And also, if you ever have questions about how to use things, you can come to me. You can send an in-app chat and you'll get answered the moment our team is available, or of course you're able to send a message. Let me find here. You send an email to heine@earthster.org and I get back to you when I can, when I'm available, as soon. So the generator, let's see how it works. I'm going to change workspace. So the coolest part of the generator, let me change for a moment. I'm going to stop sharing and then make sure that everything is correct. Yes, because I have multiple organizations. That's part of my role. Good, we go here. This one is a great option. Let me share again. Okay, so to keep this session simple, especially that I want to go through the different features to do LCAs at scale, I decided not to do any new product model, and we keep on playing around with the Lego blocks. What's important to remember that all these features, what we have, if you go back here, you can build as complex LCA models as your product is. Depending on the complexity, you might want to do bits by bits and build on top of each other. So with Earthster, you're able to use your own cycles, we call them cycles, the LCA models, the same way as you would be using an EchoNVN dataset or any other data source. And that gives you an amazing way to build a full portfolio of your own LCA models and use them in others to build really, really complex models. My examples tend to be simple, but that's better for learning. Okay, so the generator. The key point of the generator is that you are creating, with the help of a spreadsheet, for example, on Excel or CSV, it doesn't matter the source of your data, as long as it's in a spreadsheet format, you are creating a new LCA model. And it's the best option if you have already the data in a format that then can be used. And let me show you one of my examples. Here is a super simple product that I named it as the webinar. The first column refers to the product itself, what you're modeling. And the second column, called depth, refers to the structure I want to create. And the component is all the inputs that with this Excel file I'm going to create. And then the amounts, units, different geographies. And since the last session, we have added a new column name called site. This one. What the site does is that you can specify the cycle's region, what you're representing, and anyway has specified where the input is coming from. So in this case, I'm having a chemical that is getting ethanol from Spain, electricity from Italy, and water. and truck and shipping in general, European average. And I'm specifying that it's all this is going to be in France. And since my electricity and water is in Italy, maybe let's make this more logical, that the chemical is produced in Italy. Now, this is a simple model. This is just a mock-up, but your ERP system is likely to be able to spit out a similar format. This is, for example, closer to what SAP spits out, except SAP says level, we use the word depth. So let's see how this one looks in Earthster. What I'm going to do is, since I have many tabs open here, I'm using Google Sheet, I'm going to download this as a CSV file because the generator recognizes only the first tab of your Excel, or as a CSV, it's automatically only one of these sheets. So let me show you. Download CSV file. So it's a comma separated file. We go to Earthster. We go to the workspace where you want to create the new cycle. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to even show you how to create a new workspace. You can create either it from here, create new workspace, or you click change workspaces, and all the way in the bottom, there's create new workspace, like this. Workspaces are the way for you to organize your LCA data. For example, if you have a huge portfolio with different material types, I recommend creating for each material type their own workspaces, because when you're looking for your models, it's going to be easier to find. At the same time, if you're working on a project based, you can create the workspace for projects. And what makes workspaces special is that each and one of them has their own set of users. So when you're collaborating with your teammates, you can decide that, okay, these people, my manager is going to get only viewer rights because they are not good at LCA, but my colleague is going to get admin or editor rights to be able to modify my models at the same time. Now let's call this June 25, like this. You can add an image to find it easier. I'm going to create the workspace. Here is what it's asking me to add coworkers if I would want to, and I'm saying no, I'm skipping this. So I have an empty workspace, and I am going to take this file, what I already downloaded, and create a new cycle. So I'm generating a new LCA model based on a mock-up information. So let's go here. You have to click on the drop-down menu. You choose Generate Cycle from File. Now, this option is visible only if you have the corporate plan. And if we go to Earthster, we /right here pricing. Here is our different subscriptions options and the corporate plan. You can tailor it to your organization's needs. So let's generate the cycle. I click here. I drag the file that I just exported. Let me take it down here. My downloads. Here is the CSV, like this. Upload and generate. And now it gave me a big red warning. What is it saying? It says that some mappings were missing. What does that mean? So I'm uploading a model that there is something new in here that in the system I haven't told yet that, oh, when I say electricity from Italy, what data set I'm referring to. And this is what the first step is when you're generating cycles. And here it says that I have 5 mappings to create. If you click here, it shows all the ones that it's going to create. We click here, generate mappings. So the first thing is to say that, okay, in my bill of material, it said the electricity Italy, and then the system is asking me, how do I want to represent it from an LCA perspective? And depending on the material or the input you're having, you can map it to your own existing models, which I really recommend doing. So once you have built your own materials specific from specific suppliers, that's what you would be choosing. But the really, really first step is when you don't have those yet, to add, for example, eco-environment datasets. So ethanol production, this is what it's suggesting the system. If I like the dataset, I can check it here. It's suggesting from eco-invent a rest of world type of dataset, and it's distillers dried grains with solubles. And to me, this sounds like that. No, this is not what I'm looking for. This is actually something that it's important to check in eco-invent. The title of the dataset might be different than the output of the dataset because of the way eco-invent handles co-product allocations. So always check what the product is. But for the sake of this demo, I'm going to say, good enough. Yes, this is the ethanol we are looking for. I click confirm. And now, from now on, whenever I use the generator, if it says ethanol production in Italy, it's going to choose that one. Or actually, now it says Spain. True, that one was Spain. The electricity was Italy. Electricity, let's see this one. This is a US electricity baseline. I'm like, no, thank you. We want a different one. You click here, change. Then you search from the whole database. This is something awesome in Earthster, that you can search the entire database with multiple databases. We have EcoInvent, USEIO, Exiobase, many, many, many more. So a lot to choose from. For example, PEF from the EU. And the way, because there is really likely that you're going to end up having way too many options, what you do is filter your results or write multiple keywords. So for example, I could say electricity and I write medium voltage like this, because I'm looking for an eco-environment dataset and I know how they name it. But I could have written residual mix, anything like that, to refine my search. If I'm looking for solar, I would write electricity solar. And still I have more than 6,000 results. The next step, what I can do is I filter based on what we call a genre tag. This tag represents the type of the dataset itself. So for example, here you can also see, based on the unit, that this data represent using of energy. So that you're going to be using kilowatt hours. You can filter based on the tags, unit, geography, the origin, which refers to the database. We also have added recently a new way of pre-selecting already the most common used databases. And the latest things we have added as a new feature that many of you will love is you can search or filter based on the dataset name. Look what happens. So if I say market for electricity, I mark this that show only that. It's gonna have 175 options anymore with matching name. And this is the best way to see all the available regions from a dataset. I really love this new addition. But anyway, it was already telling us Italy. That's what we were looking for. So we click here, go to cycle, and that one is now mapped. Good. So electricity is mapped. It's down here. Then water, we are going to change it to tap water. And now look what happened. The system remembers your last filters. So of course, when you're mapping the next one, you want to clear the filters and look for something new. And this time, I know that it's tap water, what we are looking for example, these one. There's PEF datasets, EcoInvent, many others. And we are just going to take this one, go to cycle. And you go like this, mapping to what you think represents either the processing of your product or the material itself. So however your data is built, you have to represent it in LCA terms. And I'm just going to say yes, confirm, confirm, and I click on the Earthster logo. It takes me back to my workspace. That's the best way to navigate in Earthster. And then again, now I have all my mappings. I go here, generate cycles for file, drop there again the same file. And once you have your mappings, the next time it doesn't ask for them. I click upload and generate. It's telling me that one new cycle is going to be created. And if I would say that, no, I thought that I'm creating 5 cycles with the same model, then you can just cancel and then go back to your file, check that it's correct and do it again. But of course, this time you're like, yes, 1 cycle, thank you, execute plan. It started doing it. This little model might get stuck, so the cycle is already done. What I like to do is reload the page. And here it is, the way we specified it. It's called webinar demo, just like I put in my model. These are going to be the inputs. Let's go check it. I click here. Then we do this. These are all the elements that I have added. And look, we have chemical production, a custom process, because I have specified here with the depth. Depth number 1 creates the custom process. Number 2 means everything goes under it. And you can have many of these multiple levels. So anytime the first level has kind of like inputs, it will add it into the custom process. And when it doesn't, like they are on their own, like this 1 and 1, then it's added straight away as a data set, like here you can see. Look, chemical production. In here, we have our inputs. Any questions? Let me check my system if I see any of the questions, because of course there is a tiny lag between my streaming and what you're watching. Good. No questions at the moment. Okay. Whenever you have questions, just drop them in the chat and I'm able to see them from my system. Okay, so this is the generator. We took a fake bill of materials, uploaded it into Earthster, mapped the data sets to correspond, map the rows, what I'm saying that I have in my models to data sets, and generated a file, generated a new model. With this file, you could create thousands of products at the same time. What's important to remember is that when you're doing this, just because you can use an Excel file, it doesn't always make sense. So you might be faster. For example, if you're taking from another system, you're migrating from another system to Earthster, and you have some data, it might be easier just to create the models by hand if you have 2 inputs. So there's pros and cons to all of these solutions. Okay, exactly. So the mappings allow you to translate your ERP or your bill of materials into the LCA language. What's important is always to check that is the language correctly translated. Then the next one, the replicator. That works a bit differently. Like I mentioned, the whole idea behind the replicator is that you take one model and create variations of it. Let's see what we have. Actually, let's go with this example. So now if I would want to replicate this model, what it does is take this, make a copy, and alter some of the aspects of my model that I want. And the way the replicator works is you use hashtags in your descriptions. So for example, chemical production, we keep it as 1 kilo. We are going to change the electricity. In here, I'm adding hashtag electricity, then ethanol, same thing, hashtag ethanol, then also water, hashtag water, like this. So now what I'm doing, this hashtag, the replicator recognizes the hashtags. The generator doesn't care about it, for example. And we could have added already these as notes to the models. As you can see that it was asking for the supplier data. I had a column called supplier. I just didn't add any information, so it puts it empty. So you can upload, let's imagine you have 20 different columns in your model explaining all the bits and pieces, how something is done. All that information can be added into Earthster. So, hashtag water. What the replicator does is takes those hashtags and updates the corresponding value, these. And we could add more. Let's add to shipping. And of course, you can call it something else. It doesn't have to match the name. It's just for demo purposes, it makes sense to call it the same. Shipping, then again, track. Exactly. That's a funny. Or let's call it transport. Like this. And this hashtag can be in any part of the description. And what it does is updates that input. Now, to make your life easier, because of course we added a bunch of hashtags and you're like, where do I have them? You can go and check it in your review panel here. And these tiny dots, when you hover on them, you see your notes. I do really recommend keeping notes and documentation for your models in there. So anytime you add there a value, especially if you had to calculate something, even for the truck transportation, the metric ton kilometers. If you did a formula and calculated it, add some description so that the next time you open your model or your colleague checks it, they know where is that number coming from. And also, once your LCA, capabilities, you mature to the level that you want to start getting third-party verifications, EPDs, the better you have documented your models, the easier it's going to be. Because you're already saying that, oh, this information we got from the factory, this is coming from the supplier, or this is just a guess. And all those, when you have documented, it's much easier to do your LCAs and for others to check it. And it's really, really needed. So this is the overview for your own model and also visible for reviewers when you share your models for review. And what did I want to show here? Exactly, we are replicating. So you go to settings, and this feature is also only available for the corporate plan. You click settings, then you see the option replicate in bulk. We click the drop-down menu and we are going to say download the template. I'm going to download it as a CSV file. You can download it in Excel. What this file contains is it checks my model, what I just did. This is how it looks. The first column refers to the cycle name, and these are the hashtags we have added. If now this model would be parameterized, it would list also all my parameters in there. So it makes it easier for you to start adding those things. And what I'm going to do is just upload into this demo, not download, import that file like this. And we start creating variations. Detect, create new, insert sheet, import data. Simple table, but it helps you creating the structure in case you don't remember what hashtags you have used. And now I'm going to create multiple cycles. So for example, let's call it chemical A, and then add a bunch of others. Wait, it wasn't as smart as I assumed. Let's see. No, doesn't do what I want. Then let's do it with numbers. Spreadsheets are good with numbers. Like this. These are the cycles we're about to create. And of course, here you use the name of the product you're creating. Like I mentioned before, the O-rings. You have rubber O-ring size 5, and then a code, whatever you use in your ERP system. Name it like that. Because when you're looking for your own data sets, you'll find it based on the naming you are familiar with. Then what we do here is specify the inputs. What do we want it to be? So this one is not going to change because we didn't add here any hashtags, but we want to update this information. So I'm going to say, let's just add 3.5 thousand, shipping 500, electricity 4.3, like this. And then, oops, I don't remember how to do a call. Let's do it like this. I'm gonna do a trick +1 so that they all are a bit different from each other, like this. Good. So you'll see. And now I created this by hand, but probably you have a system for these type of recipes. So these are kind of like specifications for one product category that I'm able to make variations. And this is what the replicator does. So again, we take this, download as a CSV file or an Excel, then go back to Earthster. And this case, since this is the model I want to create variations of, I click the menu, go to settings, click replicate in bulk, then we drag it again here, like this. This is the file. Here, upload and replicate. And now it says it's being processed, and it's already done. How many seconds it took? 3 seconds to create 17 cycles? Look, click on the there, 16 cycles. Yep, 10 seconds. Or even less. No, it was 10 seconds ago. And if we go into here, let's see chemical 2, it has updated all those values as we have specified what it should be. So a really amazing way to create variations of a product category. And I would say this is like really, really fast, probably even better than the generator for the variations. The only downside of it is that you require this template style thinking, that you have already a model that you're saying that these are the inputs, this can change. And then that's it, you have your variations. Then let's go back. Exactly. And we have all these cycles in here. And then here is the original that we have generated. Then the last one is the copy paste. And that was our first solution to speed up your LCA modeling. And I still love it. It's still my favorite. You do different things with copy paste. When you can with copy paste, like take part of your model, paste it within Earthster. So let's open, for example, this one. Let's say I need this setup, what I have here, somewhere else. So what I can do is I mark one or multiple. Up here, I click copy. And I can paste it within my own model. For example, imagine you created a cool custom process that you have nested in a way that you have for the transportation. First level custom process, you say, I'm transporting 5 kilos. In there, another custom process specifying the kilometers. And the last one, you add the actual data sets so you don't have to calculate yourself the metric ton kilometers. The system does it for you. So you see the values as it would be in your source data. And once you created a cool structure, you say that, oh, I'm going to use it here, for example. Let's paste the data. Instead of clicking add new, you click the drop down, paste appears. Look, this is what we copied. It's an amazing way of creating new structure in your model. And what makes it even more special is that when you copy paste, you see the data in a spreadsheet format. Look, the same thing that I pasted, this is how the data looks like. Has a different data structure than the generator and the replicator. But with this, you can also upload data from other sources. And for some use cases, this might be the best one, especially if you are taking small tables. For example, an LCA report might be quicker and easier to do this than the other solutions. Look, C refers to custom process. F is a flow, so it's a data set. B is a bundle, and E as a like this, it's an exchange. So an elementary flow. This is the name that's going to add it. I can rename this. I can change the values. These, what you see here, is pointing to an exact data set in the system. And if I want to add something else, I can just remove it. And then the system is asking me that, okay, where do I want to update it? Same thing, you're able to add description, you're able to specify geography, and even a query, what the system is looking for. And let me show you. So let's change something. We are going to say that this is 3.4 kilowatt hours, and I'm going to call it medium electricity. We want to say only 4 cubic meters, all these. We could change anything. And actually, just so that you see the ethanol, we are going to take it off. We want to have a different ethanol dataset. I take this same information. You have to copy the whole table like this. This structure is important, but I'm not going to go into details now. And then you can paste it back to Earthster. So into another cycle in here, doesn't matter where you paste it, the system recognizes it. And look what happens. Again, paste. Now it's telling me that there's something that the system doesn't recognize, so I need to connect it to an existing data set. And this one is actually a much better data set that is suggesting than the mapping. Now, why I wanted to show this? This is also a type of mapping, but the system will not remember this. It's likely that it always suggests the same thing based on how you pasted it, but this is not the same as the generator mapping. And that's why doing it like this is great if you found a cool LCA report, you just want to upload it once into Earthster and then use it as a model instead of creating a mapping for it like for the generator. And let me check here. Yeah, now this starts to be pretty good. Ethanol. We could change another one from here, the same thing. If you skip the mapping because you're like, I don't want to decide now, let me decide it later, it will create an empty custom process with the right values, and then later on you add a dataset. But we are going to say that, yes, this is perfect like this. Paste and import. Look what's it's going to do. Same thing, chemical production, updated the value. Now it says medium electricity. Here everything what we had before, and this is the new dataset instead of what we had. Not the electricity, we changed the, what did we change? Ethanol. Exactly, this one. Any questions? I think I'm having a quiet group of viewers today, but I hope that means that everything is clear. The copy-paste feature is available for all the subscriptions, so that you can use always. Okay, so we went through the generator, replicator, and the copy-paste. All super useful for given scenarios, and what I recommend is learn to use all of them and try. Try which fits best your working style, your data, how to make it work. And for uploading huge amounts of data, I still recommend the generator. That's an amazing way of creating LCAs in minutes. Replicator is great for creating variations. And copy paste is, it just makes modeling more fun, in my opinion. Okay, so let me check. The latest features what we have is, we have a lot of latest features, and I just recently sent out a newsletter, so many of you have seen it already. Then, okay, let's go then maybe one by one, little bits and pieces that make your LCA workflow nicer. Look, if we have here, if in the model you have multiple functional units, you can change this. Let me show you. We go to scale, and I'm saying all this information is per one unit. I can add multiple production and functional units. What's important to remember when you're doing this is that they need to be equivalent to each other. So let's say so this chemical is gonna be 1 liter. Then we could say 1,000 milliliter, like this. I could add another conversion from liters to ounces. Anything that represents how I have done the model. If you know, for example, if you have a liquid and you know it in liters and then the weight of itself, then you add both. And what this does is it enables you to compare your own products with each other easier. For example, if you have the different O-rings, it's not fair to compare a tiny O-ring with a giant one. Of course, the giant one will have a bigger environmental impact because more material, bigger impact. But when you compare it per gram of the O-ring, suddenly you're able to see that, from an environmental perspective, looks like that the bigger one is better or the smaller one. It depends on your situation. But so you are able to add many of these. And then when you have multiple scale units, you can change your total to see it per the functional unit you have added. Small little thing that makes modeling nicer. Later on, what will be coming is that all this information will be reflected to it, but at the moment it's only you see the total changing. So if I change here, nothing else changes in my model. And by the way, if you're the first time seeing Earthster, the size of the circle represents the impact. The bigger the circle, the bigger the impact. The smaller it is, the smaller. And if you ever see a see-through circle, that means that it's beneficial for the environment. It gives you credit. Let me show you what happens. For example, now if the truck transportation, we would flip it as an output of my model, then it changes into a see-through circle. It's the same thing if you would be adding a minus in front of the data. So when you're calculating. So with this, you click on input, you click again, it reverses it. When you're adding waste management processes, by default, it's added as an output, but it's always a good idea to check it, just in case, because datasets are not always as logical as we assume to be, or their namings, I mean. The datasets itself, they are well done. Then, other things. Restore a given release. That is a cool thing. Let me change workspaces. We check out our Lego blocks, or maybe even here. And here I have many different releases. In Earthster, when we talk about releases, we mean versions. So versions of your data. And for example, this one, I have here the injection molded ABS for Lego parts. And clearly, this one has multiple releases. I have 3 in total. And here, the graph updates depending on how my model has changed. Here, the impact hasn't changed anything. But for example, when you keep your data, you have this year's situation, next year's, every single time you update the data sets because there's a new version available, you can keep track of what happened to an environmental impact through releases. And also, they're a good way of keeping control of your model when you're modeling with someone else. And that's where it comes to here, that you can restore a given release. Let's imagine you did something and you forgot in which cycle you are, you made some horrible mistakes, or you just want to be like, oops, no, please let me restore it. And then you go back to an old version. Also, you're able to make new ones from given releases. So that's small things that improve your experience. Then, so the generator now takes site. Also, we have added for the mappings, you can bulk select when you want to delete any of them. So for example, you're like, oh, I mapped it to the wrong one. Let me delete it. I don't want to have it like this. And you just say that, okay, delete. Then, exactly. Yes. Multiselect. That's something that we have improved the functionality of selecting your data within Earthster. So now what happens is, for example, I have already selected this one and I'm looking for multiple models to add to a comparison. You can create it from here. And I want to look for something else. Let's say I'm not finding it. I have hundreds of cycles, scrolling. What I can do is I have already selected this. Then I'm looking for something else. For example, let's say yellow. So I remember, like, I'm looking for something, the cycle name that had yellow. Imagine you're having the product codes in there, you add the code, you're looking for it, and now I'm like, oh, this is what I want. I mark this, and then I take out what I've been searching, and look, both of them are marked. And makes it much easier to look for what you're looking for and then create comparisons, delete them, anything you want. So also archive. And this same functionality works inside a model. So when you're adding datasets, you click here, add new, and same thing. I mark ethanol, I mark this one. I can mark many different versions like this. I see here my list, what I have marked. Here I'm also reminded that I'm about to add 5 different data sets. Also, if I search for something else, it will help me, it will keep my selection. And then I click add selected processes, and ta-da, all the ethanols are there. This is also a really good way if you want to see that, okay, what's the difference in the different variations. to be adding, and then you're like, oh, let's delete these others because we don't need those. And that's it. You delete it or you move them to different places. And the same thing works when you're creating comparisons. You have here a comparison, and when you can add new references, and the same thing. You mark several what you want to compare, and then you add the selected one. I'm not going to add them now. These are a different type of comparisons. If you haven't seen it yet, through divisions, you can break down your data to whatever elements you have in your model. So if you have bundles, custom processes, you can use those instead of the 3 main stages. And also with a full eco-invent license, you're able to change to different impact categories. For example, now if I want to see IPCC, I select these 5, the global warming potential 100 for 100 years. The system calculates it, the model, and then it gives me the results. Let me see like this. Now this is a bit slower, of course, because it has to calculate it. But this is how it works. Any questions? We went through many bits and pieces, a lot of things. And yeah, I mentioned already the filter base, like you can filter based on process name. The replicator can also set geographies. Oh, and there's one thing that's new, but you are able to set such a concept as impact overrides. Look, what this means is that you have a model and you want to specify, so you override what the results gives you. And this could happen in a situation that you model your supplier's product based on eco-invent data, for example, but your supplier has told you that the impact is something else. What you could do is you add a new category, for example, IPCC. You select the category that the supplier has reported to you. And let's imagine they have reported, let's not do the total. Let's put total. Here, the same thing. You can use multiple keywords. And this is what we are looking for. We click add new. And then what we do is specify the value, what we want the total of the cycle to be. And let's say, because these are in grams, we're going to put 0.05. So now what we are doing is, I would say, tampering with the data. So this is something not to use just like that, just because. So be conscious when you're doing it, especially if you're choosing another impact category. But the cool part in it, that what you can do instead of overriding impact categories, what you can do is add cost information. So if you want to add we call it a technology flow. You want to include life cycle costing in your models, you can. You add this, and now you're not altering any of the impacts of your model, but you're saying that to produce this particular chemical, it's cost 5 euros. And when you are using this model, the injection molded bio-based polycarbonate, and you need the cost information when you're checking the impact category cost, it will use that as, will use what you have specified the cost. And we have also for electricity, you're able to do that, and heat. These two is asked by MIT. They are having amazing projects where they are tracking heat and electricity usage in a different way than, for example, cumulative energy demand. Okay, we have 4 minutes left. I still don't have any questions, so that makes me doubt that is my system correct. So I'm gonna check just in case LinkedIn, what's going on. And let's hope it doesn't auto start. Exactly, good, it's muted. Wait. Exactly, this is what we not wanted. Good, so no questions there either. Doesn't matter if any questions come up afterwards, please put it in the chat, send it to me. You can send it to heini@earthster.org, or what I recommend always doing is click chat with us. If you have existing chat messages, you can just reply to the existing messages or start a new one. And we get back to you as soon as possible. In here, with the same chat interface, you are able to look up the different documentation sections. For example, it's already telling me to read the generator. I can click here and see what is like the documentation, how to use it, what to do. Or what you can do instead, you can click documentation like this. Look up the article what you're looking for. So you can click around and see, for example, the databases, the different impact methods, and perfect that I showed it. We have a new impact category, CML 4.8. So that's something new. And there's a database that's not on this list yet, and you're gonna love it, and I almost forgot it, is the CERDI C distances database. Let me show you. I'm gonna write here CERDI, and here you see origin is CERDI C distances database. This is an amazing, I would say quite small database, but still it's someone, so the authors of the CERDI database have created an average shipping scenario where it takes into account that, let's say you want to go from, let's say, Spain to France, or look, container shipping sea from Spain to France, transportation type, this is the data, this is how it looks. If we view it as a cycle, it includes average distance for 3 different destinations. So first, from Spain to the nearest harbor. From the harbor, the most commonly used sea route to the location country. So here is the distance for it. And the last one, the same thing, from the harbor of the destination country to the middle of the country. So these are averages, but when you don't know, you're like, oh, our plastics are coming from Thailand. Let me just put it from Thailand to Spain. And you use this in your own datasets. So you can just add process and you specify how many kilos or tons you have been transporting. And I can click here. And this is what happens also if you have your own scale units. Look, we can say that we are transporting 5 kilos. Everything is calculated real time. And it takes the averages. You don't need to Google it. You don't need to Google map it. Or you can even check the data itself. What does it say? And use their distances instead. I love it. It's it makes modeling international transportation much faster. Because I suffered through once when I had to look up harbors in countries that I have no idea how and where they are having it and what would be the closest one. So this will make your life so much nicer. Okay, our time is up. I hope you find this session useful. The next session has not been decided yet. It's summertime. Most of you will be on holidays, and so will I eventually. So probably the next one will be in September. In the meanwhile, of course, reach out anytime you need to. And I would say that I don't have anything else to say except thank you for joining and see you next time.